Every morning, I turn on my computer, but I don't open the daily chart. I don't look for candlestick patterns. I don't draw trend lines. I don't activate any indicators. I leave all of it untouched, because the first thing I need is not the shape of price, but the breadth of the market. That day, I observed like someone standing on a high hill, watching a battlefield covered in mist and dust. I opened TradingView. I typed in US 10Y, the 10-year US Treasury yield, DXY, the strength index of the dollar, ZOZ, the price of gold, SPX, the S&P 500 index. I didn't need any indicator. I just looked at the prices to see who was dominant, to see the pace of recovery after each drop, to see whether capital was flowing into risky assets or retreating into safe havens. If bonds were rising, USD was weakening, gold was bouncing, and stocks were thriving, I knew the market was expecting something. And if the opposite happened, many would be forced into liquidation. I moved to tradingeconomics.com. I didn't search for news shows. I didn't read analyses. I just looked at policy rates, PMI, CPI, GDP, and the meeting calendars of the Fed, ECB, BOJ. I asked one simple question: what is the crowd hoping for? And if the opposite happens, how many will be trapped in their own expectations? Next, I opened Forex Factory. I checked the news calendar to see what data was coming out today, what time it was released, and how the market was waiting for it. If the Asian and European sessions moved sideways, I didn't call that a boring market. I called it a market holding its breath, and I never placed a trade when the market was holding its breath. Finally, I observed the relative strength among currency pairs. If I was interested in August, I had to look at USD-JPY, USDC-CHF, and the DXY index. I didn't need everything to align in one direction. I just needed to see where the USD was losing and where the market was beginning to lean the other way. I didn't find my entry by looking at candles. I found it by observing psychology. Who is panicking? Who is overconfident? Who is standing in the storm believing they are still firm? I didn't measure trend lines, I measured blindness. And when I saw the market believing in something it shouldn't, I knew opportunity was forming. A winning trade doesn't come from a pattern, but from preparation. And preparation starts with understanding. And were they afraid of? I didn't rush. I observed. I waited. And I only laid my hand on the mouse when I felt the market beginning to tremble slightly. I wasn't good at predicting. I didn't believe anyone could guess the market's direction correctly every day. But I was good at recognizing when the market believed wrongly. I didn't wait for the price to move. I waited for belief to shake. The market doesn't react to news. It reacts to the expectations of that news. If the CPI data came in good and the USD jumped, I didn't rush to place a trade. I sat and watched. If 10 minutes later the price didn't go further or started to reverse, I knew something was off inside. Because if the news was good but the price didn't rise, it meant the buyers had already entered before the news. And if they entered before the news and still couldn't push the price higher, I knew the real buying pressure was absent. Another time, European GDP data came out very bad. Euros dropped slightly for a few minutes, then reversed nearly 100 pips. I wasn't surprised because those who understand the market don't look at the news. They look at the reaction after the news. I called that moment the misfire in expectations. When a market believes outcome A will happen, but price reacts toward B, that's when I go into a state of readiness. Not to place a trade immediately, but to observe like a sniper waiting until the opponent is fully exposed. And I load my bullet. I don't go against the crowd. I don't follow them either. I just observe when they believe too strongly in something, and when that belief starts to show cracks. I don't care whether the news is good or bad. I only care who has believed, who entered early, and who is now trapped in their own expectations. I don't need volume. I don't need footprint charts. I just need to look at the candle, the reaction, and the time. If price surges and then stalls too soon, if there's a sudden spike followed by a fade like it never happened, I know someone has been betrayed. And in the market, the betrayed are the first to run. I don't enter right away. I wait one more step. I called it the probe trade. But before talking about that, remember this. The market doesn't move because of truth, it moves because of belief and the reaction when that belief collapses. If you're still here, I'll continue. I enter the first trade gently, like knocking on a door, not to win, but to hear how the market responds. I never enter full size, never gamble, never seize opportunity recklessly. I just tap on the door. When I see the market reacting wrongly, when the crowd starts to tremble and the other side scrambles, I don't go big. I enter light, very light, sometimes just a tenth of my usual size, sometimes even smaller, just enough to sense the reaction. I don't expect that trade to win. I don't need it to profit. I just want to know, if I push lightly, how does the market respond? If price snaps back instantly, I cut without hesitation. I understand the door is still locked. If price doesn't respond, just stand still, I wait longer. But if price begins moving in my chosen direction, slowly, steadily, without fanfare, I know someone just opened the door for me. I don't turn on the TV. I don't browse the web. I don't read the news while holding a probe trade. I just watch the chart like a chess game. Calm, detached. I observe three things. 1. Can the market absorb my probe? Does price push back hard or accept my presence? 2. Does the other side counter? Are some positions starting to get squeezed? Are certain levels being tested repeatedly without breaking? 3. Is price gathering momentum or just dragging out its dying breath? If all three give me the right answer, I don't need further confirmation. I just prepare to strike. A good fighter doesn't go all in from the start. He simply senses when the opponent has lowered his guard and when the perfect moment comes to deliver the final cut. I don't rush. I don't get greedy. I just listen. And if the market whispers in my ear, "I'm ready," then I raise my sword. I don't add to a position just because it's in profit. I don't attack because I'm excited. I strike only when the market has given me every signal I need. Not technical signals, but signals born from fear spreading across the battle line. I look at the candle not to find an entry, but to find signs of surrender. A price zone breaks without pullback. A sharp move gets no resistance. A crowd holds on, but no longer dares to be loyal to their initial plan. I know the tide has turned. I scale not to be greedy, but because I understand that a clear opportunity like this won't come again soon. The first trade is to ask. The second is to confirm. And the third is when I go all in. There are no cheers in my head, no fantasies of pip gains, just a cold, quiet sense of certainty, like someone who has faced death enough to know that one cut is enough. I enter 3 times the size. I keep the stop loss exactly where it was. I don't shrink it. I don't tighten it. I let the market breathe, but I don't give a way out. At that point, I'm no longer reacting. I'm executing. Each candle moving my way doesn't thrill me. It just tells me I'm in sync with the right moment. Nothing is more dangerous than a blade delivered when the opponent has already lost belief. Because when they no longer believe in their trade, even a light strike will make them run before I swing for real. I'm not greedy, but I'm not forgiving either. The market never offers the same chance twice. Once I see the enemy stumble, I don't wait for them to rise, I finish. And you know what? I've waited months for a moment like that. And when it comes, it lasts just hours, but it repays all the patience I endured. If you've ever asked, when should I go big? When should I commit everything? This is your answer. When the market confirms it with the fear of those who stand on the wrong side. I'll continue, because after the strike, the most important thing isn't holding the winning trade, but knowing when to cut. Cutting wrong kills any strategy, no matter how perfect your entry. I don't hold and hope. I don't say, maybe it'll bounce. I don't think, the stop hasn't hit yet, give it a few more minutes. I don't play games with risk, because risk never plays games with me. I've let a small loss become a deep wound before. Not because the market was strong, but because I didn't dare admit I was wrong. I thought I was being rational, but really I was wearing a mask called hope. And when you hold on, you're no longer trading, you're praying. You're handing your fate to something you can't control. I changed. I cut losses fast, clean, without mercy. Even if it's a trade I've prepared for a week. Even if the entry was the cleanest of the month. Even if everything else was right. If the market reacts wrong, then I'm wrong. The market is never wrong. Only I am if I expect the wrong thing. And the more I expect wrongly without retreating, the more painful the counter will be. I don't cut because I'm afraid. I cut because I understand. To earn the right to win big, I must be disciplined enough to lose small. I don't wait for price to hit my stop. I watch momentum. I watch the reaction. If the market reverses violently and without hesitation, I manually close. Instantly. I never let a losing trade hurt me twice. Once from the market, second from myself. I won't allow it to happen again. I once cut a trade for a 10 pip loss. 3 hours later, the pair collapsed 200 pips. I wasn't happy I escaped. I was proud I protected my principal. And sometimes, principle is worth more than profit. No one loses from a small cut, but many leave this market from just one trade they didn't exit. Don't ask how to avoid loss. Ask how to stay in the game. Because if you're still here, still rational, still disciplined, still believing in your method, one day, the market will repay you. I'll continue, because after surviving, after not holding, not breaking, the final thing I do is to seize fully the moment when the market opens its entire battlefield to me. I'll talk about scaling, not out of greed, but as a finishing move when the opponent has no retreat left. I survived not because I was clever, but because I knew win or lose isn't decided by pips, but by knowing when to stop. I don't wait for the market to apologize. I don't blame price for betrayal. I quietly exit when I realize the moment isn't mine. Some days I sit 8 hours in front of the chart only to end with a single click, close. No trades, no wins, just a day I didn't die. And in this market, the days you don't die are your most precious capital. I once saw cutting as failure. Now I see it as wisdom. The wisdom to know some battles are worth fighting, others worth leaving. The living get to choose their next war. The fallen, nothing left to fix. I don't log my winning trades. I log the moments I stopped at the right time, because only then do I remember. I'm still here not because I'm great, but because I knew when to stop. And when I've stayed calm through a string of tough trades, when I didn't hold, didn't chase, didn't regret, I know I'm ready for the final thing. To strike one last time when the market has truly collapsed. I'll talk about adding, not from thrill, not from greed. Only when the opportunity is so clean that to hold back would waste months of waiting. I don't add because I'm excited. I don't scale because I'm greedy. I deliver one last strike when the opponent is lost and the market tilts fully to my side. I used to think scaling was reckless, a gamble for hot-blooded players. But then I realized if I'm right and do nothing, I'm betraying the very awareness that kept me alive. I never add if the first trade isn't in profit. Never if the market hesitates. Only when 3 things align. 1. Price breaks a key level with no pullback. 2. The opposing side shows hopeless weakness. 3. No one dares trade the other way anymore. I add, not a lot, just enough to push a final burst when others panic. I don't need a massive move, just enough for my closing blow. I end the battle with a clean strike. Real chances don't come daily, but if you miss them when they do, all your months of watching are wasted. I once added 3 times during a year's crash, not out of thrill, but because the longs had fully retreated, no bounce, no defense. I just had to finish. After that last ad, I don't touch it. I don't move the stop. I let the market speak. If it runs, I go with it. If it stalls, I exit. No greed, no regret. A good trader isn't the strongest striker, just the one who knows when to end it. I don't scale to make more. I scale because I know clarity doesn't visit often. And when it does, I must act, or I'm unworthy of it. If you've asked how often big chances come, I don't know. Weeks, months, maybe the very next trade. But I do know this. If you hesitate when it comes, it'll be a long time before you feel that again. I want to talk about money or RR or pip count. Because after entering right and exiting right, I don't remember the numbers. I only remember the feeling. I didn't miss it. I struck fully, and I stopped when I should. I was drinking coffee by the window on a Monday morning. No news, no hype, just August on a blank chart. I saw price compressing, not quite consolidating, not yet breaking out, just quietly waiting. A candle lay still at an old low, but wouldn't break. Volume faded, every push down weaker, like the market breathing with only half a lung. I didn't search for entries. I didn't count retracements. I just clicked a small buy. No big hope, just a hunch. The market wanted to lift its head after hours of being pressed down. 10 minutes later, price rose, not violently, just gently, unhindered. I sat still, no smile, no tension, just breathing in sync with the price. 2 hours later, it touched old resistance. I closed, no regret. I didn't look at the account. I only knew I had just traded without a second of stress. Not because I won, but because for the first time, I didn't have to fight for a trade. I flowed with it. No pushback, no forcing, just alignment. And when things align, a trade becomes a natural movement, not a struggle. Some trades you win from skill, some from luck, but some you win because you're no longer the one doing the fighting. I sat a while longer. No follow-up trade, no need for validation. I just gave thanks for that feeling. And now I think you understand. This whole journey I'm sharing isn't just strategy, isn't just execution. It's a process, a journey, from someone who once fought the market to someone who can now stand still, listen, and nod at the right moment. If you're still here, I'll close with one last truth. One I only learned after many wins, many losses, and finally understanding what it means to have enough. If you stayed this far, it's not because you seek quick wins. You stayed because some part of you already knows trading is not a hunt. It's a journey to understand yourself. I no longer see the market as a place to take money. I see it as a mirror. Every trade I take reflects back exactly who I am. Am I rushing or still? Seeking money or validation? Do I trust my method? Or am I using trades to fill an inner void? There were phases I won steadily, yet felt uneasy, because I knew I was trying to outrun the market instead of walk beside it. Some days I placed no trades. I just write, watch the quotes, and I know I'm progressing, not on the chart, in my mind. Now, I don't measure success by pips. I measure it by this. Did I enter with awareness? Did I exit with control? If yes, win or lose, I traded with integrity. You've heard me speak of watching flow, probing, striking, cutting, scaling, waiting, sinking. But in the end, I want you to remember one thing. The market is a place where no one wins forever. But if you stay calm, honest with your emotions, and disciplined enough to stand still when needed, you're already ahead of 90% of traders. Don't try to get rich from a market. Try to survive long enough. Because if you're still here, with clarity and stillness, victory will find you. Not because you're too good, but because you no longer need to win to feel worthy. Thank you for listening, not to theory, but to something written in trades, in blood, in long silent hours at the screen. If this is worth revisiting, save it. Not to learn how to trade, but to remind yourself, calm is your sharpest blade. We'll meet again in a deeper, quieter chapter. Perhaps the very place you first hear the market's breath inside you.